Travis O'Connell's day had already hit rock bottom when his 6-year-old daughter dropped her only pair of school shoes into a puddle. And now, the ATM refused to spit out the last $20 in his account. "Come on," he muttered under his breath, shielding the screen from the drizzle as his daughter, Kenzie, tugged at his jacket. "It's just $20. From behind him, a soft voice broke the tension. "Is it just me, or are these machines always out of service when you actually need them?" Travis turned to see a woman in a tailored beige coat, her dark hair pulled back into a loose ponytail, and a frustrated look on her face as she tapped at the screen of the ATM next to his. Rain dotted her silk blouse, but she didn't seem to care. He stepped aside instinctively, nudging Kenzie behind him. "Yeah, they like to mess with people when it hurts the most." She gave him a sheepish smile. "I think it just ate my card. It won't eject it." Travis shifted Kenzie to his hip and leaned over to take a look. "Mind if I try something?" "Please," she said, stepping aside. He pressed a few buttons, then tapped the side of the machine with the flat of his hand. The screen blinked once, then the card popped out. The woman gasped, "You're a magician." Travis chuckled. "Nah, just broke enough to know how these machines think." She laughed, the sound clear and warm. "Well, thank you. You just saved me from a full-on meltdown." "No problem," he said, "just paying it forward." He turned to go, but Kenzie tugged on his coat again. "Daddy, can we get the bread now?" The woman blinked, her gaze shifting to the little girl in faded jeans and a too-small raincoat. "I'm sorry, did you say bread?" Travis gave a tight smile. "Yeah, dinner's gonna be grilled cheese if the bank decides to play nice." She hesitated, then opened her purse. "Look, I know this is strange, but would you let me thank you with a cup of coffee or hot chocolate for your daughter?" Travis frowned. "You really don't have to." "I insist," she said quickly. "It's the least I can do, please." Kenzie looked up at him with wide eyes. "Daddy, I want hot chocolate." He sighed. "All right, but just one cup." They walked across the street to a cozy cafe, the kind Travis usually avoided because it looked like it charged extra just for the air. But the woman didn't pause. She ordered 2 hot chocolates, a black coffee, and a croissant for Kenzie without blinking at the prices. "I'm Vanessa," she said, sliding into the booth across from them. "Travis, and that's my daughter Kenzie." Vanessa leaned toward Kenzie. "That's a beautiful name." Kenzie beamed. "Thanks, I'm 6 3/4." "Well, I'm 30 and a half," Vanessa said with a wink. Travis raised an eyebrow. He hadn't met many women who joked like that, especially not ones who wore diamond studs and carried handbags that probably cost more than his rent. "So," Vanessa said, sipping her coffee, "what do you do, Travis?" "I was a carpenter, worked construction for about 8 years," he said. "Then the company folded. Now I do odd jobs, painting repairs, whatever I can get." Vanessa's eyes softened. "That must be tough." Travis shrugged. "It is what it is. Kenzie's the important one." She looked at the little girl, who was now making a whipped cream mustache with her hot chocolate. "She's lucky to have you." Travis didn't know what to say to that. Compliments made him nervous, especially from women like her. "What about you?" he asked. "You local?" Vanessa hesitated. "Sort of. Travel a lot for work, but I grew up here." Before he could ask more, her phone buzzed. She glanced at the screen and frowned. "Everything okay?" Travis asked. She stuffed the phone into her coat pocket. "Yeah, hey, just work stuff." Kenzie finished her croissant and climbed into Travis's lap, resting her head on his chest. "I should get her home," Travis said, getting up. Vanessa stood too. "Can I give you a ride?" He blinked. "What?" "My car's right out front. It's cold and she looks tired." "I appreciate it," he said slowly, "but we're just a few blocks away. We'll walk." Vanessa didn't push. Okay, but maybe we could meet again for coffee. Travis stared at her, unsure if he'd heard right. You want to? Yeah, she said, smiling. Maybe next time you'll let me thank you properly. Kenzie perked up. Can I come too? Vanessa laughed. Of course. Travis hesitated, then gave a small nod. All right, sure. Vanessa scribbled something on a napkin. This is my number, call whenever. He took it, folding it carefully and tucking it into his jacket. Then she turned, heels clicking on the pavement, and disappeared into a sleek black car that a valet had been holding for her. Travis stared after her, completely baffled. Daddy, Kenzie whispered, I think she's a princess. He looked down at his daughter and smiled faintly. Yeah, baby, I think she might be. What he didn't know was that Vanessa Leighton wasn't just a woman with a nice coat and a kind heart. She was the billionaire CEO of Leighton Group, one of the biggest private tech firms in the country. And she was already thinking about the man with calloused hands, who fixed a machine and didn't ask for anything in return. 4 days passed before Travis found the courage to use the number Vanessa had given him. Not because he didn't want to see her again, but because he wasn't sure she'd meant it. He'd replayed that afternoon more times than he could count. Her easy laugh, the way she'd crouched to talk to Kenzie like she mattered, her eyes direct but kind. But women like that didn't usually follow through, not with men like him. Still, when Kenzie handed him the napkin from where he'd tucked it into a kitchen drawer and said, "You forgot to call the nice lady," he figured maybe it was time to stop wondering. Now, as he adjusted the cuffs of his only decent button-down shirt in the bathroom mirror, he felt ridiculous. Clean-shaven, hair combed, and nerves tangled up in his chest like fishing lines. He'd arranged for Mrs. Callahan from next door to watch Kenzie for a few hours. Kenzie hadn't let him leave without making him promise to bring her back a fun story. He didn't even know where they were going. Vanessa had said she'd pick him up. That was 3 minutes ago. When he stepped out onto the curb, he didn't see a car waiting. But then a black SUV with tinted windows rolled up slowly, and the driver hopped out to open the back door. Vanessa leaned out. You clean up well. Travis hesitated a second before climbing in. I didn't know what the dress code was. There isn't one, she said as the car pulled away, but you look good. He glanced her way. She wore a simple navy blouse and jeans that still somehow looked expensive. Her hair was loose this time, falling over her shoulder. She didn't look like anyone he'd ever known, and yet she didn't seem out of reach either. So where are we going? He asked. Somewhere with food and decent music. You okay with that? I'm okay with anything that doesn't come out of a microwave. She smiled but didn't respond right away. Instead, she looked out the window, her fingers tapping a rhythm against her knee. You ever get out of the city? She asked suddenly. Not much, he said. Last trip was 2 years ago. Kenzie and I took the train to the lake. Didn't even get in the water, but she still talks about the ducks. Vanessa turned to him. That's kind of amazing. You ever see ducks? He teased. She laughed. I've seen ducks, just not the kind that make a 6-year-old remember them for 2 years. The car pulled up in front of a restaurant with a low brick exterior and hanging lights across the patio. It wasn't flashy, but it looked warm, alive. The kind of place that didn't post prices on the front window because you were supposed to know if you could afford it. A man in a pressed shirt opened the door as they stepped inside. Good evening, MS Leighton. Your table's ready. Travis blinked. They know you here. I host a charity dinner here every December, she said, guiding him to a corner booth with velvet cushions and low lighting. They're good people. He didn't ask what kind of charity. He didn't want to seem like he was fishing. But he couldn't stop his eyes from drifting up to the chandelier above them. It looked like something from a magazine. A server placed 2 menus in front of them, but Vanessa waved hers off. Just the usual, please, and a Cabernet. Travis opened the menu, saw the first appetizer was more than he usually spent on groceries in a week, and shut it again. Vanessa leaned forward. You okay? I'm fine, he said. Just, haven't seen this many vowels in a menu before. She laughed again quietly, like she couldn't help it. You want me to order? Please. She did, and the moment the server was gone, she shifted in her seat, her tone changing. Can I ask you something? He nodded. Why didn't you call sooner? He hesitated. I wasn't sure you wanted me to. Her brows lifted slightly. Why wouldn't I? Travis looked her straight on. You're clearly used to a different kind of life. Vanessa leaned back. That's not an answer. I guess I thought maybe I'd mess it up, he admitted. And I figured if I didn't call, at least couldn't disappoint you. She was quiet for a moment, her eyes unreadable. Disappointment comes from people pretending to be something they're not, she said. You haven't done that. He stared at her. You don't know that. Travis, she said, her voice sharper now, you were carrying your kid in the rain and still stopped to help a stranger. That tells me more than enough. The food arrived something with roasted vegetables and sauce he couldn't name, but it smelled amazing. They ate in companionable silence for a bit until Vanessa asked, What's your dream? He blinked. What do you mean? If you could do anything, like if you had the money, the time, the freedom, what would it be? He thought about it. Not the surface stuff like a new truck or a bigger apartment, but the thing that sat in his chest when everything else went quiet. I'd open a workshop, he said finally. A real one. Teach kids how to build things. Not just for trade, though that's part of it, but because there's something about making something with your hands that makes you feel like you matter. Like you can change things. Vanessa didn't speak right away. Then she said, That's incredible. He shrugged. It's just an idea. It's a good one. She said it with such conviction, he half believed it himself. After dinner, they walked out onto the restaurant's patio, where fairy lights swayed in the breeze. Vanessa turned toward him. Do you have any idea how rare it is to meet someone who doesn't want anything from me? I didn't even know who you were, he said. Exactly. He looked at her, really looked at her. There was something in her expression, vulnerability, maybe, or hesitation. Do people usually want something from you? All the time, she said, but you didn't, that's why I came back. He didn't know what to say to that. She stepped closer, and for a second the air between them felt charged. But then her phone rang from inside her bag. She sighed, I have to take this. I'm sorry. He nodded, of course. She answered it as she walked away, her voice low and clipped. Something was wrong. He could tell by the way her shoulders tensed. 5 minutes later, she returned, her expression shuddered. I have to cut the night short, she said, her voice calm but distant. Something urgent came up. No problem, he said, though disappointment flickered in his chest. I'll call you, she added, touching his arm. Then she was gone, swept into the backseat of her SUV like a gust of wind. Travis stood under the patio lights for a long moment before heading home, wondering what kind of world she really lived in. And whether there was room in it for someone like him. Travis had just finished sanding a patch of drywall in an old apartment hallway when he heard the familiar rasp of Mrs. Callahan's cart wheels screeching down the stairs. She dropped this off for you, the elderly woman said, handing him a slim white envelope. Said it was personal. Travis wiped the dust from his hands and cracked it open. Inside was a note not typed, handwritten, and an address scribbled in precise black ink. No explanation. Just a time, 7 o'clock. He turned it over, half expecting some kind of clarification, but there was none. Just the faint scent of something clean and expensive clinging to the paper. That night, as the clock clicked past 6, he stood in front of his closet, trying to decide if his best shirt still qualified as decent after the collar had frayed. Kenzie sat on the edge of his bed, swinging her legs. "Is it another hot chocolate date?" she asked, brushing her doll's hair with a plastic comb. "I don't think so," he said, "but you'll be with Mrs. Callahan again just for a couple hours." Kenzie looked up. "Is it the same lady?" Travis nodded. "She's pretty," Kenzie said matter-of-factly, "but her eyes looked kinda sad last time." Travis paused. "You noticed that?" Kenzie shrugged. "I noticed stuff." By the time he reached the address, the sun had dipped below the skyline. The building was tucked between a high-end art gallery and a boutique that had no name on the door, just a gold plaque with a single letter. The entrance had a private elevator with no buttons, just a card reader. Before he could wonder what he was doing there, the door slid open. Vanessa stood inside, barefoot, wearing a simple gray sweater and black pants, nothing like the polished version of her he'd seen before. Her hair was damp, and her expression unreadable. "I wasn't sure you'd come," she said. "I wasn't sure I should." She stepped aside. "Come in." The elevator opened directly into her penthouse. It wasn't what he expected, no glass sculptures or cold marble. Instead, the space felt lived in. Shelves filled with books, a fireplace crackling quietly, a piano in the corner with sheet music half folded on the stand. Travis stepped inside slowly, taking it in. "You live here?" he asked. "I do." He turned to her. "Why did you send the envelope?" Vanessa walked to the kitchen and poured 2 glasses of water. "I needed to talk, and I didn't want to do it in public." He took the glass but didn't drink. She leaned against the counter. "There's something I haven't told you." "You're not married, are you?" he asked, only half joking. She didn't laugh. "No, but I'm not just some woman who likes good coffee and duck stories." Travis waited. "I run a company," she said slowly. "Leighton Group. It's a private tech firm. We specialize in artificial intelligence development and security systems." He blinked. "Wait, Leighton as in?" She nodded. He let out a low breath. "You're the Leighton." "I am." He sat down on the edge of a leather armchair, trying to process it. "So that's why your phone's always going off. Why restaurants bend over backward for you." Vanessa watched him. "I didn't tell you because I didn't want you to look at me differently." He shook his head. "I don't think I ever looked at you the way most people probably do." "Exactly," she said. Silence settled between them, heavy but not hostile. Travis finally said, "This changes things." "I know." "I don't belong in this world," he added. Vanessa walked toward him. "Neither do I half the time." "You're the one who built it." "And I'm the one who feels like a stranger in it most days." She sat across from him. "Do you want to leave? I'll understand." He stared at her. "I don't know what I want. I just know I didn't expect any of this." Vanessa nodded. "Then let's talk about something else." He raised an eyebrow. "Like what?" She stood and crossed to the piano, flipping open the sheet music. "Do you play?" Travis laughed. "I can barely read notes." She played a gentle chord. "My mom taught me when I was 5. This was her favorite piece." He listened to the melody, soft and measured. "What happened to her?" "She passed away when I was 19. Cancer." "I'm sorry." Vanessa stared at the keys. She used to say music fills in the things words can't reach. He didn't respond. He couldn't. When she stopped playing, she turned to him. "You seem quiet." I'm trying to figure out how a guy who couldn't afford bus fare last week ended up in a billionaire's living room listening to Debussy. Vanessa tilted her head. Does it scare you? No, he said, surprising himself. It just doesn't feel real. She walked over and sat beside him. It's real, I'm not pretending. He looked at her, then tell me why you care. Vanessa didn't hesitate. Because when I'm with you, I don't feel like a walking balance sheet. You don't flinch when I'm blunt, and you don't try to impress me. You're the first person in years who's made me feel seen without needing anything in return. He swallowed. That's all I've got, just myself. It's enough. Travis leaned back. I don't know if I can handle this. People like me, we survive by keeping our heads down, not stepping into worlds where we don't belong. Vanessa turned toward him. You belong wherever you decide to stand. They sat in silence again, but this time it felt different closer. Then she said softly, I'm going to Milan next week. For a summit, it's 3 days. He didn't speak. I'd like you to come. He laughed once dryly. I don't even have a passport. I can help with that. Why? Her voice was quiet. Because I want more time with you. And because think you're the only person I've met in years who isn't afraid to tell me the truth. He looked at her, really looked at her. The woman who had handed him hot chocolate like it was no big deal, who had invited him into her world one careful step at a time. I'll think about it, he said. Vanessa smiled, not bright or showy, just soft and real. That's all I'm asking. Travis adjusted the lapels of his blazer for the 3rd time in the mirror, unsure whether it was sitting right or if he just wasn't used to wearing something that didn't come off a clearance rack. The fabric felt foreign on his skin, thicker, smoother, and expensive in a way that made him nervous to move too fast in case he creased it. Kenzie peeked into the room, her hair pulled into a neat bun by Mrs. Callahan, who stood behind her holding a small pink suitcase. Are you sure you packed enough socks? She asked. I've got plenty. And if I forget anything, I'm guessing there's at least one store in Milan, he said, trying for lightness, though his stomach was all knots. Kenzie ran toward him and hugged his leg. Bring me back a snow globe, she said. I'll bring you back 3, he promised, kneeling to hug her properly. You be good for Mrs. Callahan, okay? She already told me, can have pancakes for dinner, Kenzie whispered like it was a state secret. He gave her a quick wink, then stood up and faced Mrs. Callahan. Thank you again for everything. You're about to get on a private plane with a woman who could buy the moon if she wanted, she said, eyeing his suitcase. Just don't let her think you're someone you're not. I don't think I could even if I tried. She likes you because of that, Mrs. Callahan said. Don't forget it. The car Vanessa sent pulled up exactly on time. Travis had never been in a vehicle where the seats warmed automatically or where the driver wore white gloves and didn't speak unless spoken to. He stared out the window as the city gave way to the private airfield, trying to ground himself in the moment. Vanessa was waiting by the steps of the jet, this time in a tailored coat the color of slate, her hair swept back by the wind. She looked like she belonged there, standing against the backdrop of something sleek and silver with engines humming softly in the cold air. Glad you came, she said when he stepped out of the car. I almost didn't. I know. Travis followed her up the steps and into the cabin, where leather seats surrounded a polished table already set with glasses and a tray of what looked like fresh fruit. A woman in navy greeted them with a wide smile and offered drinks. Vanessa gestured to the seat beside her. This all right. Only if there's no eject button. She laughed, settling in as the engines roared to life, and the plane lifted into the sky. They spent the first hour quietly, Travis trying not to gawk at the fact that the bathroom had marble countertops and that someone had brought him a warm towel for no reason. When Vanessa finally spoke again, her tone was different, more thoughtful. "I've been thinking about your workshop idea." He turned to her. "What about it?" "I want to help you build it." He blinked. "You mean?" "I mean I want to fund it, not as a donation, as a partnership." He stared at her, stunned. "Why?" "Because it's a good idea. And because I've been looking for something worth investing in that actually changes lives." He shook his head slowly. "I don't know how to run a business like that. I've never even written a grant proposal." "Then we'll figure it out," she said, "together." Travis leaned forward, resting his elbows on his knees. This is a lot." "I know. I don't want to feel like I'm just some project for you." "You're not," she said, her voice steady. "If I just wanted to throw money at something, I'd write a check and walk away. But this, I want to be part of it, not just because it's needed, but because it's yours." He looked at her, and for the first time since their paths had crossed, he saw not just the woman who had stepped out of a luxury car or the CEO who had entire buildings named after her. He saw someone who was offering not charity but belief. "I don't even know how to thank you." "You already did. You showed up." The rest of the flight passed in a blur of quiet music, shared glances, and conversations that drifted from childhood memories to favorite books, to the time Vanessa accidentally insulted a Saudi prince by mispronouncing his dog's name at a gala. By the time they landed, Travis no longer felt like a passenger in someone else's life. The summit was held in a glass-walled tower overlooking the city. Vanessa moved through the crowd with the ease of someone who had long since stopped being impressed by titles, but she never let go of his hand. Not once. At one point, a sharply dressed man with a clipped European accent leaned in and asked, "Is this the man who's had our Iron Queen smiling all day?" Vanessa didn't blink. "Yes, and he's not going anywhere." Later that night, in their suite overlooking the city lights, Travis stood barefoot on the balcony, trying to catch his breath. Vanessa stepped beside him, wrapping her arms around his waist. "This doesn't feel real," he said quietly. "It is." He turned to her. "You sure about this, about me?" "I've never been more sure of anything," she said. "You're the first person who's ever seen me without the armor, and like who I am when I'm with you." He brushed a strand of hair from her face. "I used to think I had to keep my world small to keep it safe. But you made me want more." Vanessa's eyes filled, but she didn't look away. "I love you," she said, every word deliberate. He smiled, slow and full. "I love you too." The next spring, the workshop opened in a renovated brick building 3 blocks from the school Kenzie would start at in the fall. The sign above the door read, "O'Connell Makerspace built with heart." Vanessa was there for the ribbon cutting, not in heels or designer sunglasses, but in jeans and a white t-shirt, holding a tray of lemonade for the kids already hammering away at their first projects. Kenzie ran up to her, arms full of colored wood scraps. "Are you staying for dinner?" Vanessa crouched. "Only if you have pancakes." "We always have pancakes on Fridays," Kenzie said, "and now that you're part of our family, you have to." Vanessa looked up at Travis, her eyes shining. "Guess I'm part of the family, then." He reached out and took her hand. "You always were." The scent of freshly cut cedar filled the air as Travis stepped through the wide glass doors of the workshop. Sunlight spilled through the tall windows, casting golden lines across the smooth floors and rows of busy workstations. Kids were scattered around the room, some hammering, some painting, others measuring and sketching on thick pads of paper. The space buzzed with life, curious, chaotic, and perfect. Vanessa stood near the back, crouched beside a boy building a model bridge, her sleeves rolled up and a streak of sawdust across one cheek. Her laughter carried across the room, light and unguarded. Seeing her like that, no boardroom, no press, no pressure still felt like watching a miracle unfold. Travis adjusted the strap on his shoulder. The weight of the new shelving brackets he'd picked up balanced against the satisfaction in his chest. He hadn't told her yet, but the city had called earlier that morning. The community fund grant they'd applied for had been approved. More tools, more staff, more reach. The dream was growing. "Hey," he called out, his voice barely rising over the buzz of drills and chatter. Vanessa looked up instantly, her face lighting up in a way that never failed to hit him right in the ribs. She stood, brushing off her hands, and crossed to him. "New supplies. Shelves for the back room. The kids keep stacking things like a game of Jenga. One wrong move and we're all crushed under glue bottles." "They're experimenting with gravity," she teased, reaching for a bracket. "Yeah, well, gravity doesn't pay liability insurance." She laughed, then tilted her head, catching something in his expression. "What?" He leaned closer. "We got the grant." Her eyes widened, and for a moment she didn't speak. Then she threw her arms around his neck and pulled him into a tight hug. "That's incredible," she said against his ear. "Means we can finally finish the second phase, maybe even get that welding station." She pulled back just enough to look at him. "You did this." "We did." She touched his cheek, her thumb brushing the edge of his jaw. "You built this from the ground up." He glanced around the space. "It's more than I ever thought I'd have, and it's still not the best part of my day." Vanessa blinked. "What is?" "Coming home to you." Her breath caught, but she didn't look away. "Say that again." He took her hand. "You're home, Vanessa." A sudden crash behind them made them both turn. One of the younger kids had knocked over a stack of wood planks, and two others were laughing while trying to help him up. Vanessa smiled, then leaned into his side. "Want to sneak away for a second?" she asked under her breath. "Depends," he said. "Is it for coffee or kissing?" She grinned. "Both." They slipped into the small office tucked behind the main floor. The room had been her idea: quiet, functional, and filled with photos of the kids' projects. On the desk sat a tray with 2 mugs, still steaming. "I made coffee earlier," she said, handing him one. "You're full of surprises." She set her mug down without drinking and turned to him. "I've been thinking." "Dangerous," he murmured, and she nudged his arm. "About us," she continued, "about what's next." He held her gaze. "Tell me." "I don't want to split time between this and boardrooms anymore," she said. "I've already started stepping back. I've promoted my COO to interim CEO. I'll still be involved, but I want this life, with you, with Kenzie. I want to build something real." "You're serious?" he asked, blinking. "I've been serious since the first time you looked at me like I wasn't made of glass." His voice dropped. "I don't want you to give up anything that matters to you." "I'm not giving up," she said. "I'm finally choosing." He reached for her, cradling her face in his hands. "Then let me choose too." She leaned into his touch. "What do you mean?" "I've been carrying a ring in my pocket for a week," he said, "waiting for the right moment, but I think maybe this is it." Her lips parted, but no sound came. He pulled the small velvet box from his jacket and opened it. The ring wasn't flashy, it wasn't massive, but it was beautiful, classic, the kind of thing you wore because it meant something. "I don't have a yacht or a private island," he said, "but I have a little girl who already calls you part of her family. I've got this place, and I've got the rest of my life if you want it." Vanessa's eyes shimmered. "Are you asking me?" "I'm telling you," he said. "I love you. I want to spend every damn morning and every quiet night building something with you. Will you marry me?" She didn't hesitate. "Yes." The kiss that followed wasn't rushed or desperate. It was full of certainty, of days earned and years promised. Later that evening, they returned to the apartment where Kenzie had drawn a giant sign that said, "Welcome home, Miss Nessa," in glitter marker. She wore a chef's hat and presented them with pancakes shaped like hearts. Vanessa crouched down beside her. "Can I tell you a secret?" Kenzie nodded solemnly. I said yes. Kenzie gasped, "You're gonna be my stepmom." "If that's okay with you." Kenzie threw her arms around her neck. "It's more than okay, it's perfect." Travis watched them from the kitchen doorway, heart full to bursting. He'd spent years thinking he had to keep his life small to keep it safe. But now, standing in the middle of a home filled with laughter, love, and glitter-covered signs, he understood something new. Love didn't ask you to shrink, it asked you to grow. That summer, they were married in the backyard of the workshop, surrounded by friends, staff, and children who had helped build the arch out of reclaimed wood. Kenzie walked down the aisle holding a bouquet larger than her head, and when Vanessa reached Travis, she whispered, "This is the only boardroom I ever want to be in." Their vows were short, honest, and filled with laughter. No pretense, no performance. Just two people who had found their way to each other through a rainstorm, a broken ATM, and a cup of hot chocolate. And when they kissed, it wasn't just a promise. It was a beginning. Years later, the workshop expanded into 3 locations, each one bearing the same simple plaque, "Built with Heart." Kenzie grew into a bright, fearless teenager who designed her own furniture line and insisted on naming it Duck and Daughter in honor of their first hot chocolate date. Vanessa still took calls from time to time, but instead of stock reports, they were from school boards and nonprofit directors asking how to replicate what they'd built. And Travis, he still wore the same tool belt, still taught kids how to measure twice and cut once, and still looked at Vanessa like she was the best decision he'd ever made. Because she was.